it's your girl Jay, and today I'm here with my June wrap up. Yes, it is August, but listen, June and July have been very busy for me. We moved into our new house, got engaged. I've just been doing a lot without a lot of time to sit down and film. I am hoping to film my July wrap up as soon as I write all of my reviews for that, but this is my June wrap up. I read a total of 7 books for the month of June, so without further ado, let us get started. The first book I read for the month of June is The Glass Girl. This is by Kathleen Glasgow, and I give this one a 5 out of 5 stars. This follows 15-year-old Bella, who feels an immense amount of pressure from everybody around her, especially since the passing of her grandmother. The only thing that seems to make her feel better is alcohol, and she hits her rock bottom when she passes out one night and ends up in the hospital, and she realizes that rehab may be the only thing that is going to help her. I personally love Kathleen Glasgow's writing. I think that she is such an incredible author, and she really handles very difficult topics in a very respectful way. She never shies away from the topics that she's writing about. I thought that this was a very realistic portrayal of addiction and the non-linear journey that comes along with rehab. My heart absolutely broke for Bella, not only with the struggles she was facing for her addiction, but just basic life in general. I liked how this not only explored how her alcoholism was affecting Bella's life, but also the people around her as well. You couldn't help but root for Bella, even when she was making poor decisions along the way. I also really liked how the story ended on a more hopeful note, and I think that a lot of people will be able to relate to Bella's story, so I definitely recommend reading this. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was A World Worth Saving. This is by Kyle Lukoff, and I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. So this one follows A. They are a 14-year-old trans boy who came out during the COVID pandemic. His parents refused to accept him and bring him to a weekly support group called Save Our Sons and Daughters. This is in the hopes of fixing him. After one of his friends goes missing after one of these meetings, A is sent on a mission by a golem to save his friend and those like him. I unfortunately was not the biggest fan of this book. I understand the importance of it, but I just could not connect with any of the characters. I did not like A as the main character. I found him very arrogant and selfish, and I just didn't really care about his mission because of this. I also just didn't like the way he treated his friends. I thought that the pacing was a bit wonky, and I didn't really like the supporting characters at all. They were definitely not supportive. I ended up giving it a 2 stars because I was invested enough to finish the book because I wanted to see where it ended up, but it just was not for me in the end. The next book I read was Snow Globe. This is by So Young Park, and I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. This is set 200 years in the future, and the world does not go above the temperature of a -50 degrees. There's a small settlement called Snow Globe where the rich and famous reside, and this is the only place in the world that does not face perpetual winter. In order to live in Snow Globe, you have to be either an actor or a director. The people who do not live in Snow Globe work in a factory to produce the energy that makes Snow Globe warm. This is in exchange for the ability to watch the reality shows that the people of Snow Globe film. When Showbomb gets the opportunity to move to Snow Globe to star in one of these shows after the death of an actor, she quickly takes a chance, but she realizes that it's not as glamorous as she thought. I was originally very excited to pick this one up because it's advertised as The Hunger Games meets Squid Games, and I thought that that sounded very interesting. I wouldn't necessarily agree with those comparisons. I was entertained as the story was going, but I don't think I was blown out of the water at all. I personally don't think that it brought anything new to the dystopian genre. It started off well and dandy, but by the end of the book, I was honestly just kind of confused with what was going on. I did like Showbomb as a main character. I thought that she was very interesting to follow. I thought the pacing was well done, and it was a very quick read, so I gave it an average rating of 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is Another Fine Mess. This is by Lindy Ryan, and it is the second book in the Bless Your Heart trilogy series. I'm not really sure which one it's going to be, but I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This one picks up essentially right where Bless Your Heart finishes, and I did like this a little bit more than I liked the first book. I thought that the mystery behind who or what was killing the townsfolk was intriguing, and I was invested in figuring out what was going on. This is told in multiple point of views. I think that the audiobook narrator did a great job in bringing these characters to life. The characters, their unique personalities, and the relationships between them all is definitely the highlight of the book for me. I am intrigued to see where this series ends up and what the next adventure is going to be for the Evans women, so I will probably be picking it up, but I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore, and this one, unfortunately, was very average for me. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I know people love this series, but I thought it was okay. This follows Jeannie, who leaves her desk job in the city for a small town called Dream Harbor after being gifted the Pumpkin Spice Cafe by her aunt. When she arrives, she meets Logan, who is a very grumpy farmer who wants nothing to do with her upbeat personality. But as they spend more time together, Logan can't help but realize that he is drawn to her, and it's kind of their love story. Grumpy Sunshine is one of my favorite tropes, so I was very excited to pick this up, and the hype surrounding it made me think that I was going to absolutely adore this book. I can see why people really love this story, but I personally thought that it was just a very average small town romance. I didn't think that anything in particular made it stand out compared to any other small town romances that I've read. The characters were likable. It did make it easy for me to root for them, but my biggest gripe with this is that I am not a fan of the miscommunication trope, and not only were the two main characters so bad at communicating with each other, literally everybody in this town was riddled with the miscommunication trope. So it made it a little bit difficult for me to care. I will say they were cute together. I did like them together. I would read the rest of the books in this series if they were to fall into my lap, but I'm not going to go out of my way to try to find copies of them. It was average to me, 3 out of 5 stars, but I do get why people like it. Next up, I read The Serial Killer's Guide to San Francisco. This is by Michelle Chouinard, and I gave this one a 3.75 out of 5 stars. This follows Capri Stanzio, who owns a tourist guide business that focuses on the serial killers. She has been interested in serial killers ever since she was a child, when she discovered that her own grandfather, William Stanzio, was a serial killer named Overkill Bill. She has always believed that he was innocent, and when a copycat killer arises and she needs a little bit of money to help pay for her daughter's grad school, she decides that this is the perfect opportunity to start a podcast and look into the killings a little bit more to not only earn a little money, but also prove his innocence at the same time. But when her mother-in-law is announced as the next victim of this copycat, she finds herself as the number 1 suspect on the list, and it's kind of the story of that. This was a really quick, fast-paced read with a great cast of characters. I listened to it on the audiobook, and I think that the narrator did a great job at bringing these characters to life. I really enjoyed my time listening. I really liked Capri as a main character. I thought she was really funny and witty. I was fully invested in trying to figure out who was not only behind the original killings, but these copycat killings as well. I thought it started off really strong. It did become a little repetitive by the end, hence why I did not give it a 4 out of 5 stars, but I think that a 3.75 is pretty great, and I do have the second book in the series on audiobook waiting for me, so I will definitely be jumping into that very soon. The final book that I read for the month of June is Thirsting for the Vampire by Molly Lukovich. This is the 3rd book in the Sexy Sleepy Hollows series that she is writing. I absolutely love these books. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This one follows Octavia and her sister Rose. They make a trip to Sleepy Hollow in order to start investigating the mysterious deaths that took place there recently, as well as the disappearance of Arletta Harrington for their podcast. Along the way, they meet Matilda, who is a vampire, and Octavia can't seem to stay away from her. We all know by now, I love everything that Molly writes. I think she is such a talented author. She is just so witty and funny. So when she asked me to read the next installment in this series, I obviously jumped at the chance. I was so intrigued by Matilda in the last book. So when I found out that this book was about Matilda, I was so ecstatic and so ready to jump in. Molly has a way of writing her characters that make them feel so relatable and real. I think that they are so witty, they are so funny, and they all have very unique personalities. A lot of these characters have chronic illnesses, and I think Molly does such an incredible job of writing these characters with care and empathy. I also love when we get to see old characters from the previous books pop their heads in with little cameos. It just brings me so much joy. I am so excited for you all to read about Octavia and Matilda soon. The book comes out in September, so I will leave the link down below to pre-order it off of Amazon. Please support Molly, she's so great, and I cannot wait to read the next installment because the character that it is about tickled my fancy right from the first time she was on page, so I'm so excited to get a book from her perspective. But I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend the entire Sexy Hollow series. It's so much fun. But yeah, please support Molly, she's great. All right, everybody, so those were the 7 books that I read in the month of June. I'm hoping that I can get my July wrap-up filmed soon-ish and edited and uploaded, but your girl is just a very busy lady. So let me know down below if you have read any of these books, and I will see you all in my next video. Goodbye.